A Letter to God by G.L. Fuentes. This is the first chapter from First Flight. In the title, I have capitalized God because it is rather amusing to have someone write a letter to God. It definitely shows the unflinching faith that this fellow has, but at the same time, it highlights the naivety of this fellow who writes a letter to God. Let's have a look at the main characters. The main characters include Lencho, who is a farmer. He is also the main protagonist in the story. Then we have the postmaster, who serves as the benefactor. Along with them, we have other minor characters, which are the postman, Lencho's wife, and Lencho's children. The story is set in the backdrop of Latin America. We can say this because we find the use of pesos, which is a currency in Latin America. Let's have a look at how the story progresses. Lencho, a farmer, was hopeful of a good harvest. He saw rain clouds gathering in the northeast and became sure of the impending rain. As he was having his meal, the rain started and he went out to enjoy the rain. He compared the raindrops to 10-cent and 5-cent pieces. It didn't just rain, it rained hailstones which resembled silver coins. The hailstones went on raining for over an hour and totally destroyed his corn. With great dismay, Lencho realized that they would have to go hungry that year. This brings us to the first oral comprehension check, in which the first question is, what did Lencho hope for? So Lencho hoped for rain, which was required for a good harvest of corn. The second question is, why did Lencho say the raindrops were like new coins? So according to Lencho, the raindrops were like new coins because they would result in a good harvest which would bring him prosperity. The third question is, how did the rain change? What happened to Lencho's fields? As the rain was pouring down, a strong wind started to blow. Along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. They kept on falling for almost an hour, turning the field white. At the end of it all, the corn was completely destroyed. And the last question in the first oral comprehension check is, what were Lencho's feelings when the hail stopped? So we find that Lencho's heart ached with grief upon seeing the ruined fields. He saw a bleak future for his family, and he knew that his family would not have any food for the coming year. This takes us back to the chapter. Further, the story progresses. So he remembered the words, "No one dies of hunger." Lencho had complete faith in God that he would take care of him in his troubled times. So he wrote a letter to God. In the letter, he asked for 100 pesos in order to sow his field and to live until the crop came again. He went to the post office and dropped the letter in the mailbox, the letter which was addressed to God. The postman gave the letter to the postmaster, who was taken aback by the faith of that man who wanted to strike up a correspondence with God. He intended to keep the faith of that man. He opened the letter, intending to reply to it. Upon opening the letter, he found that he would need some money to be able to revert back aptly. He then gave up a part of his salary and collected money from others for an act of charity. He was able to gather 70 pesos, which he kept aside for Lencho with the signature of God. Here the chapter takes the second break and we arrive at the second oral comprehension check. So the first question out here is, who or what did Lencho have faith in and what did he do? And the answer is, Lencho had firm faith in God. He knew that God would help him. So he wrote a letter to God requesting 400 pesos in order to sow his field again and to take him through the hard times till the crop came up again. The second question is, who read the letter? And obviously we know that the postmaster read the letter. The third question is, what did the postmaster do after reading the letter? So initially the postmaster laughed, but then he became serious as he was moved by the writer's faith. He didn't want to shake Lencho's faith, so he collected some money and kept it for Lencho on behalf of God. After the second oral comprehension check, we come back to the story. So point number 18. The following Sunday, Lencho came in full faith, seeking his letter. He was handed over the letter by the postman. He opened the letter, counted the money, and got angry on not receiving the amount he had requested for. Immediately, he sat down to write another letter. Then, dropping it in the mailbox, he went away. The postmaster went and opened the letter, which read, God, of all the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest, since I need it very much. But don't send it to me through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. Lencho. The chapter finishes here, and it finally brings us to the third oral comprehension check. The first question out here is, was Lencho surprised to find a letter for him with money in it? No, Lencho was not the least bit surprised to find either the money or the letter. His faith in God was such that he expected a reply. That's why he had gone to the post office seeking the letter. The second question is, what made him angry? Lencho had requested for 100 pesos, but upon counting the money, he found only 70 pesos. He was confident that God would have neither misunderstood nor denied his request. So he felt resentment for the people at post office whom he held responsible for the missing 30 pesos. Let's look at a quick synopsis of the chapter. The chapter traces Lencho's journey. He faces a conflict with nature which destroys his crops. This conflict doesn't shake his unflinching faith in God. Then, in all his innocence, he visits the post office, dropping his letter to God. People at the post office who don't even know him indulge into an act of charity so that his firm faith is not shaken. But Lencho ends up getting into a mental conflict with the very same people who had helped him in the name of God. This shows that in their ignorance, many times people fail to understand that humanity is the best divinity available to us.